Hello, everyone. As I'm going deeper into understanding what the future holds for us, I am thrilled to have with us Dean Isabelle Bajeux. She is the 10th Dean of the Tepper School of Business at Carnegie Mellon University, a place that holds a very special place in my heart because is the university I went to, and it's the place that taught me pretty much everything I know. So this is a very special interview for me. Dean, thank you so much for doing this. As Dean of the Tepper School, she aims to further develop experiential learning and interdisciplinary collaboration within the business school and Carnegie Mellon, and use the Tepper School's focus on technology and data science to guide business education and skill-based decision-making into the future. Before Tepper, she was at McGill University in Montreal, where she led the establishment of the Ben Sadoun, I'm hoping I pronounced it right, School of Retail Management. While there, she launched several new master's programs in retail, finance, and analytics, as well as introduced a series of interdisciplinary minors such as entrepreneurship for undergraduates and data analytics for multiple degree programs. Born and raised in Paris in France, she is an alumnus of the École Normale Supérieure in mathematics and has also earned a doctorate in applied mathematics. Her areas of expertise include asset pricing, portfolio management, and credit risk. She's been a speaker on topics such as the future of work and increasing the representation of women in finance and in business. And I've actually had the pleasure of meeting her on her visit to India. And I can assure you that this conversation is going to be a treat. So listen in as we have Dean Isabelle chime in and share her views on the future of work. Thank you, Dean, for doing this.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Okay, terrific. All right, so Dean, as we start off, warm up and start the conversation, from your vantage point, from where you sit, why is it important to talk about the future? Why think about the future of work?
Well, it's incredibly important because, of course, we have the responsibility to prepare the students for what's expecting them after graduation. And we need to be aware, or at least have our best guess about what are going to be the skills that will be most important for them, and making sure that we prepare them for that.
Okay, so you're saying you sort of have responsibility towards your students, trying to prepare your students to be future ready.
Yeah, that would be correct, yes.
Okay, terrific. Okay, so as you think about making your students future ready, what are some of the factors that you think are at play as you think about the future? Is technology going to shape the future? Is it sustainability? What are some of the key factors that are going to influence the future?
So technology and sustainability are very linked. I'm sitting here at Carnegie Mellon, and that's a place where clearly we think very deeply about technology. We think very deeply about AI. And that's something that has always been present in the way that we teach our students. And I think it's becoming even more relevant every day as technology becomes more embedded into any business practice. So I believe that we actually in the best place to think about that and to make sure that the students are well prepared.
Okay. Anything else? Any other factors that come up in addition to finance or sustainability that you think will play with the future?
Yeah, and I was saying technology and sustainability goes together because if we're thinking, for example, about large language models, this is probably the technology that went on the fastest in terms of adoption by the general public. It's also incredibly energy intense. So we need a lot of energy actually to be able to fuel these models. And that's a real concern in terms of sustainability and in terms of climate change in particular. I don't think we're saying that enough right now. That this AI technology requires a lot of energy in general, and that we don't seem to have the capacity, or if we have the capacity, we're burning a lot of energy and generating a lot of pollution that are affecting our planet. So that's something that I strongly believe we have to have in mind when we're talking about technology. What are the consequences in terms of sustainability?
Hmm.
And that's usually not something that comes up at the very beginning when we're starting to talk about AI and the
Hmm.
different applications. But as billions of people are using AI and are using LLM models, this
Hmm.
is becoming more and more important.
Okay, very, very interesting. You bring this up at the outset because in most conversations, this dialogue doesn't even occur. I think most people are not aware of the load that these LLMs are putting onto the planet. So thank you
Mhm.
for raising this issue. So one
Well,
issue.
it's also a matter of the data centers, right? The
Hmm.
data centers right now. So it's linked to LLM, but it's linked to the enormous amount of data that we're using all the time now.
Hmm.
And these data centers are just using so much energy in
Hmm.
general that I think the tech companies are really trying to address that and
Hmm.
trying to find solutions on how to fuel them.
Hmm. But I mean, I don't know if this is true, but perhaps it's like the size of the first supercomputer, right? And then you saw over time efficiency in computers and modeling and sort of efficiency in just the systems and like the size of the chips, etc. So perhaps the LLMs will and the data centers, etc., will see that evolution, and we're just sitting
Mhm.
at the start of that curve,
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully. Okay.
Yeah, that could be, although I'm not sure
Hmm.
uh, that we're going in the right direction there. So that's a question that we're addressing in some of the research that is being done at Tepper, and I
Mhm.
think that's a really, really important question. It's what's the impact of all these new technologies on our planet? And this is not about the direct impact, but more of the indirect impact in
Hmm.
terms of energy needs.
Hmm. Okay, great. Okay, since you brought up one of the downsides of the technology frenzy, uh, let's stay on that. And any thoughts on the ethical side of AI? You're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing deep fakes becoming prevalent. You're seeing it in the classrooms. You're seeing students trying to use GPT for their homework assignments, etc. So this is obviously, again, just the nascency of AI and all the malpractices of AI. Where do you lie on that spectrum? Do you think eventually this will ease out and sort of ethical moral code will evolve, or do you foresee malpractice in the usage of AI?
So one of the challenges that we're facing right now is the speed of changes, right? It never happened in the past that changes are happening so fast. And I don't think that society is well equipped to address speed in general when we're seeing these changes happening overnight and people adopting new technology overnight. Um, so that is definitely something that needs to be addressed. Uh, at Tepper, we do have ethicists who are professors in the business school.
Mm,
And for example, in our MBA program, we teach ethics in the core courses of the MBA program. That's something incredibly important because I feel that the leaders of tomorrow, the business leaders of tomorrow that are coming out of Tepper,
mm,
really need to have a very early awareness of the challenges that these technology can pose.
mm,
Um, there's a lot of amazing applications of AI, and there's a lot of applications that are really scary.
mm,
If you want to build a bomb, I think that you can learn how to do that very easily.
mm,
Um, that's kind of an obvious one. Uh, some of the applications that are actually even more scary is if you think about the pandemic that we just went through, building weapons coming from new molecules is something that feels a lot easier with the use of AI. So these are kind of applications that we don't necessarily think about right away, but these can have a lot of consequences. And I think that, you know, we do mainly two things in a business school. We do research, and then we're teaching students in the way that they're going to become leaders, business leaders. And in the way that we're teaching students, we need to make sure that they will be asking the right questions. And teaching ethics very early on in their programs is something that is, I think, incredibly important. And then there's the research that is being done. And the research that is being done is really about the applications on society. And there's a lot of research as well on the ethics side.
Okay. I mean, I remember my time at Tepper back all the way back in 1999. And I do remember having a course on ethics even back then. As a freshman thinking, why are they teaching us all this stuff? And today looking back and saying, thank God they taught us all this stuff, because I could see the application of all those modules very much through my career through Wall Street and then returning to India, and most definitely today. So I'm thrilled that that practice at CMU has continued and seems to have gotten even stronger. Okay, great. Now with all this AI and the morality of AI and the speed of technology, what happens to jobs? You know, this question is everywhere. Are we going to have new jobs, no jobs, more jobs? You know, then there's theories on all three. There will be no jobs for us, and you know, humanity will no longer cease to work, and robots will work. There will be many more jobs because AI will come in and bring new applications, and then there will be redefinition of what work means. You know, so there's theories on all three. I'm sure you know this. Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, well, it's really hard to know for sure, obviously. So, you know, I'm not going to give you a definite answer on that, because that would be really presumptuous.
Sure.
But I like a quote that is used by my son a lot.
Okay.
And I feel that it shows a little bit what happened, and it's not necessarily linked to AI, but I think AI amplifies that. And the quote is from my son, right? So the generation below me, our grandparents had careers, our parents had jobs, we perform tasks. And I feel that this younger generation feels that they are commodities for companies. You know, there's this story about remote work. You do have software engineers, let's say, that are completely remote. They work for a company, they change company the next day. The only thing they change is they change their laptop. They send their old laptop to the previous company and they get a new one. And that's incredibly sad if you're thinking about it. So, you know, we keep telling that the younger generation has no loyalty. But I think it really comes from the corporate world itself, where they're thinking about their employees are pure commodities. They're going to get the cheapest person. And if the cheapest person doesn't perform, they're not going to try necessarily to grow that person into the job, but they're just going to change that person and get a new one. Of course, the reaction, which is completely understandable, is that when these people work for a company, they don't feel any loyalty for that particular company because they know that they are completely expendable. and whenever they get a new opportunity, they'll take it, and they'll shift. So I feel that the pandemic did accelerate that behavior on both sides, because we're lacking the human connection. We're lacking, it's incredibly sad. One of my daughter works from home in New York City, and her home is a small bedroom, and there's less than a feet between her bed and her desk. And she would love to go to an office and have that office environment, which is socialization, which is human contact, which is working in a team. But she doesn't have that option. And I really feel that as a first job, in your life, this is an incredibly sad proposition that we're giving our people. I know some people are very happy to work from home, and maybe it's a matter of where you are in
your life stage.
Life, right?
Yeah.
But I'm incredibly worried about the younger generation, not only because they lack, the socialization, the human contact, but they also lack the mentorship that comes with it, and the growth development for them in their jobs. So you have behind me, actually, it's a giant sticker on my wall here, is the branding of the school. We call it the intelligent future, and we're talking about being data informed and human driven. And I feel that it's incredibly important to keep that balance all the time, and always think about the human and how we can make sure that we're not creating a society that is becoming inhuman.
Okay.
The human needs to be at the center of what we're doing.
Okay, so sort of center your decisions and action making around sort of the human element. And I'm glad you shared, with such openness, the example of your daughter, because there is some level of glamorization of this work from home and remote. When you talk to young people, they're, hey, I don't go to an office, and I don't commute, or you're so silly, you waste 2 hours commuting every day. So I feel like people don't have that dialogue. They don't bring out the loneliness and the lack of mentorship, guidance, socialization, etc. So I'm glad you brought that up and addressed it. Though I don't know if it's a chicken and egg situation. Is it companies catering to the younger generation, saying, "Hey, these guys don't want to come into work, so let's give them that flexibility," or is the younger generation responding to available jobs? So I feel like
So it's complex, right? It goes both ways.
Yeah.
It feels to me that people think that it's better to work from home, but then they're miserable when they do that. So, whether it's better or not, I'm not sure. We're a residential university here at Carnegie Mellon. So our students are here, except for the students who are doing online hybrid programs, but we still bring them. If you're doing an online hybrid MBA program, we still bring the students on a very regular basis to campus. So we're recreating this human environment that is so important. So this coming weekend, we'll have all of these students coming on campus, and they stay together for 3 days, and then they go back to their jobs, and they go back to studying from home.
Okay.
But mainly we're a residential campus, and I don't see that disappearing. I feel that being together and having a college experience, for example, and that's very American, right? You spend 4 years in a university, in college, and you have that experience that is a lot more than what you're learning in the classroom. It's a lot more comprehensive than that. It is, and it is at a time in your life when you're growing the most between 18 years old and 22 years old. This is really a growing time and becoming an adult, and that's an incredibly important time of life.
Yeah.
So as a a residential college, we need to have people on campus. We need to make sure that the people are helping the students. But even when we don't need to have people on campus, I'm thinking about, for example, my admission team or my marketing and communication team. In theory, you know, they wouldn't need really to be on campus a lot. The reality is when you're doing admissions or when you're doing marketing of the programs, if you don't know what you're talking about,
Sure.
you're not going to appear as authentic at
Mm.
all.
Mm.
If you don't experience the school by being there physically
Mm.
and being able to pop up into a classroom and talk to students in the hallway or professors in the hallway, it's going to be very theoretical, right? Your
Mm.
perception of the school.
Sure.
And that's going to show you won't be able
That's
to
what you
talk
will
about it.
convey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Since you brought up the topic of, CMU being a residential program, I mean, I couldn't even fathom my education at CMU without actually being in Pittsburgh. But in the future, again, there's theories about colleges becoming redundant. We've been hearing this for quite a few years now, right? Like people aren't going to require going to school in college, and it's going to be education at home. And then there are obviously firm believers in the institution. Do you think the institution will remain at the center and there will be other models emerging? Do you what, where do you stand on the future of education and the institution at the core of education?
I think it's going to be a portfolio.
Mm.
I don't think there's one model. I think it's the matter of being able to offer the flexibility because life happens. So, for example, in our MBA program, well, first of all, we don't use different curriculum for our full-time MBA or our online hybrid MBA. We're using the same curriculum, which I think is incredibly important because at the end, the students get an MBA. And it doesn't say from what program, really. So we need to make sure that the learning objectives are the same. But I'm saying life happens. Because we're using the same curriculum, a student can start with an online hybrid format and come to the full-time MBA, for example, they want to accelerate for whatever reason from their life, they want to accelerate their studies and graduate earlier, they
Mhm.
can do that. Or the other way around, they can start in the full-time program and then they get a job and they don't want not to take that job. They
Mm.
want this opportunity and they can finish their program by being in the online hybrid version. And we see students doing that. So that's just an example, but it is about offering more flexibility. It is about being able to adapt to the student needs,
Mm.
whatever their needs are.
Okay, so you see a variety of models emerging in
Mhm.
the future, and not necessarily the institution always being core to the future.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, great.
that's correct.
Um, let's talk a little bit about finance. You've done a lot of work in portfolio theory, and I want to understand from your lens, where do you see the finance sector move to? And again, the intersection and interplay of technology and finance, and
Mhm.
what sort of implications you see that happening, so you see that occurring, sort of leading to in the future.
Yeah, so, well, clearly that's incredibly important in finance. I'm talking with lots of alumni, and a lot of them are working in banks. It's very striking to me that banks are defining themselves more and more as tech companies, more
Mm.
than banks,
Mm.
because that's kind of the reality, right? They're tech companies, and whether you're thinking about the buy side or the sell side, uh, it is uh, it is very true that technology is included in everything that they're doing more and more. Um, so so for our students, I'm coming back to Tepper here, because we're so embedded in technology, always at the intersection of business, technology, with the human component in there, we're positioning our students to be really well equipped to make that shift. And when they go to Wall Street, they still have that very heavy technology background that is going to be so helpful in Wall Street. I have several examples in mind. I'm not sure that I want to quote particular banks, but one of the big actors in Wall Street hired someone, not from Tepper, but a professor from the School of Computer Science here on campus, to head their AI strategy. It's quite amazing that this person didn't have any background in finance at all. And it really didn't matter for them. It was all about AI and specifically about robotics and how these AI tools can be used in finance. So we're seeing more and more of that. And we're working with this bank actually on some of the aspects that they want to implement. And we're working on research projects with them. But we also have a lot of experiential learning for our students. So students are embedded in projects that are brought by the companies. And of course, there's different levels of interest from the companies, where first of all, they have specific projects that they're trying to get some solutions for, but it also serves them as a longer interview process to hire our students.
Okay, but you're saying, what you said was very interesting, that you're seeing sort of a redefinition of the finance firm as an entity, and now it's sort of inching towards being redefined as a technology firm that's sort of powering finance. So you're seeing
Yes.
almost like a shift in that. With that happening, with so much technology coming into finance, do you think net the world will be a better place with more accessibility to financial tools and to banking systems, etc.? Or do you see this as like the flip side? Of course, is the cybersecurity and all the malpractices there. So net, like going forward, is this going to make us a better off society or not? Not really.
Well, we need to work at it, right? It's not going to make it a better society if we don't address how to make it a better society. So that's the first thing, is that we really need to work at it. Cybersecurity is a huge concern, and we talked a lot about AI. I think the next big disruptive technology, we haven't talked about it yet, is quantum computing. And with quantum computing, when we're talking about cybersecurity in particular, this is something that is going to redefine completely how we're thinking about security. Because if you think that a code can be cracked in 10 seconds, however difficult this code is, and if you're thinking about mining, for example, for in general for crypto, let's say, there will not be any mining anymore, because with quantum computing, this can be cracked so quickly. So it's going to be something that is coming very fast also, and it's coming to be another very big disruptor. And that's another piece that we're not talking about enough, I feel.
Okay.
And that's something that we really need to address. So the question for me is not whether it's going to be good or bad. The question for me is, how can we make sure that we can make it good for society? So let's try to find what are the challenges, and let's try to find solutions. Let's try to address that. And this is where research, in particular, coming from academia is so important,
Mm.
because the academic research is not about finding a technology that would allow you to do things faster and better for your bottom line. The academic research is how to do things better for society.
Society.
And that is a different positioning than what the corporate world does,
Mm.
for good reasons.
Okay, terrific. Okay, what are you seeing? When you with your interactions with the student body, and so much, the world is in such a state of flux. There's so much anxiety, so much uncertainty. What are concerns you're seeing within the student body, and how are you addressing them? How are you explaining to them, what the world's going to look like, and you have a generation that's graduating out of college in a world where you probably don't go to office, you don't know if you'll have a job. So how are you addressing these concerns on campus?
So one of the things that we really need to build with students is more resilience.
Mm.
I am not convinced that we're doing a great job at that, because that's incredibly difficult. We're seeing more and more mental health issues on campus, in society in general, honestly. And this is related to some of the discussions that we had earlier, right? When your job, which takes most of your time in your life,
Mm.
is so isolated,
Mm.
this is becoming a huge concern for society. So that's definitely something that is top of mind in
Mm.
universities, to address mental health issues, uh, and well, I just don't know how we can do better in terms of resilience and that's something that we're always trying to teach.
Mm.
We're coaching our students. So one of the things that we have here, let's talk about our MBA program, for example, is that we teach our students the curriculum of
Mm.
the MBA program, but then we also have a Leadership Accelerate Institute, where students have opportunities to work with coaches. And this is not about their mental health, right? But about how to become a leader. So it's really about leadership. One of the first things that they do when they start as an MBA student is to take an emotional intelligence test,
Wow. Okay.
which is amazing, because they all think they're going to perform incredibly high, and they don't.
Sure.
And that shows them that they really need to work on that.
Sure.
So they've been admitted to Tepper, right? It's a very top business school in terms of
Quantitative rigor.
yeah, in terms of
Analytical
their
rigor.
intelligence,
Yeah.
their IQ. There's, well, we don't admit on IQ, but it's very clear with all of their accomplishments in life before
Mm.
that this is not an issue. They can succeed on the academic side. What's more of an issue when you're becoming a leader is to make sure that you can relate to other people, you can manage teams, you can
Mm.
actually exercise some human qualities,
Mm.
uh, empathy, and other human qualities that are incredibly important when you're leaders. And
Mm.
that's something that we're addressing right away. And this is outside of the curriculum. And I think it's important that it's outside of the curriculum, because we don't want the students to feel the pressure of grades for that,
Mm.
but we want them to feel a lot more free to develop their uh, own skills
Mm.
in these behavioral
Mm.
uh, uh,
It's very
aspect.
much aligned with what you've been sort of saying continuously. It's very human driven.
Yes,
You have the IQ, you have the accomplishments, but do you have the skills to deal with other human beings? It
yeah.
seems to be at the core of everything you've been saying. How much, man with machine, and we'll last one or two questions and we'll close this. How much co-botting do you see happening in the world? I remember back in 99 at Carnegie Mellon, like I worked at the Human Computer Interaction Institute. I was doing some research with a professor there. And I mean, there were robots everywhere around us. It was the reality of being at Carnegie Mellon. Like today, when I see these images, I'm like, hey, this was there like 20 something years ago on my campus. So now, how much of this do you see coming into the mainstream? Do you see in the classrooms a cobot teacher? Do you see at workplaces, man and machine sitting next to one another? How much of this is going to become an everyday reality around us? You see robots making coffee in San Francisco at these kiosks and things. How much do you think it'll seep into the mainstream? How much human computer interaction are we looking at?
I think it's coming everywhere.
You think okay.
It's coming to the classroom very clearly. We do have an initiative right now to actually leverage the large language models into the classroom. We cannot just ignore that, right? It's a reality. It's kind of, I've been repeating that a lot. We cannot just not admit that this is a reality. Students are going to be using ChatGPT. So we need to make sure, just like, when we learn how to count, we still had calculators, and we learn how to count outside of the calculator, and then we learn how to use calculators. In a lot of the courses that we're teaching, the instructors, the professors are asking specifically the students to use ChatGPT for coding, for example. And how to leverage these technologies. We, at the same time, I know in computer science, for example, that initially students are not allowed to use these technologies because you need to know how to count before you use a calculator.
Sure.
And if you're going to ask an LLM technology to generate some code, you need to make sure that you understand the code in order to make sure that it's correct, and you can leverage it. So that's the approach that we've been using. It's very, it really depends on the course. I think every professor, first of all, is free to use whatever approach they want. But it's been pretty consistent that the professors are trying to leverage the technology to the advantage of the learning for the students, rather than just not allow students to use the technology. That wouldn't make sense.
Okay, but you're seeing
it would tell people never use a calculator. That's ridiculous, right? It's there, it's available. How can we leverage that for humanity in a human way?
Okay, all right. So it's centered around data, but still very human. Okay, last question, and we can close. I'm going to give you a very sort of open-ended question. As dean of the Tepper School of Business, if you had to just advise someone young watching this interview, what advice would you give them about their futures, and what do you think they should be thinking about? How do you think they should be just planning forward as they think about their lives holistically, not just academically?
I would say that planning everything is going to become impossible. So I would say build your resilience, know that things are going to change. We don't know today what job you will have 10 years from now, because nobody knows what the jobs will be 10 years from now. So the most important skill, I feel, is really to build your resilience, build your curiosity. Intellectual curiosity is going to be really important. And that's a piece, we're trying to teach business skills to our students, and we are, but we're doing it in a way that is a little bit different here at Tepper. We're thinking about the business skills as being in 3 different pillars. And these pillars are not business. This is economics. You don't understand business if you don't understand economics. This is mathematics with optimization in particular. And of course, there you include all of the AI tools in there as well, and the coding. And this is organizational behavior, all of the behavioral skills. So these are skills that are not business skills. But when you have these pillars, then you can learn marketing, finance, accounting, operation management. So all of the business skills, right? So you need to have the right pillars in order to be able to build on that. And curiosity, I feel, is incredibly important. And then that comes with it is flexibility as well. You need to be flexible. Things are going to change. With resilience, you'll be able to do that. With curiosity, you'll be able to learn new skills all the time. And flexibility will be really important. So if somebody tells you this is what it will be 10 years from now, don't believe that person, because I don't think that can be true, that somebody really knows what's going to happen. But what you definitely need to build are all the skills that will allow you to be able to address changes.
Okay, terrific. I love it. There were 3 foundational hard skills layered with 3 foundational soft skills. And I think that combination will hold true for a very long time to come. Thank you, Dean. The conversation was extremely pragmatic. You kept it very real, very accessible. With all your credentials and degrees, I was a little intimidated, honestly, and I was concerned that it would end up being a very different conversation. But thank you for keeping it so accessible. Really, it was just you went with the flow, and you were very honest, and you shared some very personal experiences and examples, which really made the interview shine through. So thank you so much. Merci beaucoup, and have a great day. And I will hopefully see you in
You're
India.
most welcome. It was it's an amazing project that you have here, and it was a real pleasure to participate in that.
Thank you so much, Dean. Thank you. Thank you so much.